If someone uses these 8 phrases in a conversation, they lack emotional wisdom and maturity. There's a stark contrast between having emotional maturity and lacking it, and it often comes down to language. When someone lacks emotional wisdom, they fail to navigate the nuances of communication, and it's evident in the phrases they use. As someone who values emotional intelligence, I've pinpointed 8 phrases that are dead giveaways. If you hear these in conversation, you're dealing with someone who lacks emotional maturity. 1. It's not my fault. One of the clearest signs of emotional immaturity is when someone is unable to take responsibility for their actions. We all make mistakes. It's a part of life. But those with emotional wisdom and maturity understand that owning up to these errors is an integral part of personal growth. However, when you hear someone continually shirking blame and saying, "It's not my fault," it's evident they're not ready to accept the role they play in their own life. This phrase shows a lack of self-awareness and an inability to take responsibility. Instead of learning and growing from their mistakes, they're stuck in a cycle of denial and blame shifting. That's a glaring sign that they lack emotional wisdom and maturity. So be aware when you hear this phrase in conversation, as it can be a telltale sign of someone who has some emotional growing up to do. 2, you always or you never. Overgeneralization is another sign that someone lacks emotional maturity. Phrases like "you always" or "you never" are often used to criticize or blame rather than to promote understanding or resolve a conflict. Let me give you a personal example. I had a friend who frequently used these phrases during disagreements. If we had a misunderstanding, instead of discussing the issue at hand, they'd resort to statements like, "You never consider my feelings," or "You always ignore what I say." These phrases not only escalated the conflicts, but also showed their lack of emotional wisdom. Instead of dealing with a specific issue, they generalized and blamed, which is not a sign of mature communication. If you hear someone using these phrases in conversation, it may indicate that they lack emotional maturity and wisdom. It's a sign they're not ready to handle conflicts in a constructive and emotionally intelligent way. 3. I don't care. When someone frequently uses the phrase, "I don't care," it may seem like they're trying to portray a laid-back, easygoing persona. However, this could be a sign of emotional immaturity. Emotional wisdom involves understanding and managing your feelings, which includes caring about how your actions affect others and the world around you. Frequent use of "I don't care" can be a sign of avoidance or a lack of empathy, both indicators of emotional immaturity. So, if this phrase is a staple in someone's conversation, they might need to work on their emotional growth. 4. I know. But the phrase "I know" is a subtle way of dismissing someone's advice or opinion. While it may sound as if they're acknowledging your input, the "but" implies that they're not actually open to considering it. Emotional wisdom and maturity involve being open to feedback and perspectives different from our own. It's about listening, understanding, and sometimes even changing our stance based on new information. When someone frequently says, "I know, but," it's a sign they're not truly open to other viewpoints. They might be stuck in their own perspective or unwilling to admit they could be wrong. This inability to genuinely consider and respect others' opinions is a clear sign of lacking emotional wisdom and maturity. Keep an eye out for this phrase in conversation. It might reveal more than you think. 5. Why does this always happen to me? When someone constantly feels victimized or perceives themselves as a target of all misfortunes, it's a sign of emotional immaturity. The phrase, "Why does this always happen to me?" is a clear indication of this mindset. Emotional wisdom involves understanding that setbacks and difficulties are a part of everyone's life, not uniquely targeted attacks. I can remember a time when I was caught in the same pattern of thought. It felt as if every setback was a personal attack, a relentless series of unfortunate events aimed solely at me. It took time, introspection, and emotional growth to understand that adversity is not personal, but a universal human experience. People who frequently use this phrase are likely stuck in a cycle of self-pity and victimhood, which prevents them from growing and learning from their experiences. And that's not a sign of emotional wisdom or maturity. 6. I hate Strong words like hate often indicate extreme emotions, and when used frequently, they can reveal a lack of emotional maturity. I recall a period in my life where I often found myself saying, I hate this, or I hate that, whether it was about a person, a situation, or even trivial things. The word hate was my go to expression. It was an emotionally charged word that I used to vent my frustrations and discontent. But over time, I realized that using such strong language wasn't helping me deal with my feelings. Instead, it was amplifying them. It took some introspection and emotional growth to understand that and to start using more measured and thoughtful language. 7. That's stupid. Dismissive language, such as the phrase "that's stupid," is another sign of emotional immaturity. Emotionally mature people tend to be respectful and considerate in their conversations, even when they disagree with someone. They understand that everyone has a right to their opinion and that differing views can coexist. On the other hand, dismissing someone's ideas or opinions as stupid shows a lack of respect and understanding. Not only does it shut down open communication, but it also signals an inability to engage in a healthy discourse. Hearing "that's stupid" frequently in conversation is a clear sign that the person lacks emotional wisdom and maturity. It shows an inability to handle differing opinions gracefully, which is a key aspect of emotional intelligence. 8. I don't need anyone. One of the most telling signs of emotional immaturity is the phrase, I don't need anyone. This statement often masks a fear of vulnerability or a resistance to interdependence. Emotional wisdom involves recognizing that we all need others in some way or another, whether it's for companionship, support, or simply to share experiences. Human beings are social creatures by nature. When someone insists they don't need anyone, it signifies a lack of emotional maturity. It shows an unwillingness to acknowledge our inherent interconnectedness and the importance of relationships in our lives. Remember this: emotional maturity is not about never needing anyone. It's about understanding the value and importance of connections with others. Final thoughts. It's a journey. The path of emotional wisdom and maturity is not a destination, but a continuous journey, deeply intertwined with our personal growth and experiences. American psychologist Daniel Goleman, renowned for his work on emotional intelligence, once said, emotional intelligence begins to develop in the earliest years. All the small exchanges children have with their parents, teachers, and with each other carry emotional messages. These messages shape us throughout our lives. They influence how we perceive and react to the world around us, including our choice of words and phrases. Recognizing these verbal cues can offer profound insights into our own emotional maturity or the lack thereof. If you find yourself or someone else frequently using these 8 phrases, consider it a starting point, an invitation to embark on a journey of self-awareness and emotional growth. Remember, the journey towards emotional wisdom and maturity is not about achieving perfection, but embracing imperfection and learning from it. As you navigate this journey, remember that it's about progress, not perfection. Be patient with yourself and others. After all, we're all works in progress on this winding road of emotional wisdom and maturity.